let me ask you something powerful. Have you ever worked harder than ever before, pushed yourself day after day and still felt stuck? You put in the hours, you hustle, you do everything right, but somehow you're not where you want to be. Here's the truth most people never understand. Success isn't about how hard you work. It's about how powerful you think. You can have the best strategy in the world, but if your mind is full of fear, doubt, or excuses, you'll sabotage yourself every single time. You'll hesitate when you should act. You'll give up when it gets tough. Because the greatest battles are never fought in the real world. They're fought in your mind. Every champion you admire, every world-class athlete, every visionary leader, every self-made success story, they all won the inner game first. That's why I'm here today to tell you something that can completely transform your life. Success is 80% mindset and only 20% action. The world doesn't reward the person who works the hardest. It rewards the person who believes the deepest, who thinks with power, and who acts from a place of absolute certainty. So if you've ever wondered why some people seem to attract success effortlessly, while others struggle endlessly, stay with me until the very end of this message. Because today, I'm going to show you how to reprogram your mind for success, how to take control of the one thing that shapes every result in your life, and how to finally bridge the gap between where you are and where you were born to be. Are you ready? Then let's dive in. You see, everything begins in your mind. Before you ever take a single step toward your goals, before you ever lift a finger or make a plan, there's something that happens inside of you. A decision, a belief, a thought that whispers, maybe I can, or one that mutters, I don't think I'm enough. That single thought is the seed that determines what grows in your life. Most people think success starts with action. They think if they just do more, grind harder, or stay busier, they'll get there. But here's what most people miss. Action without the right mindset is like running fast in the wrong direction. You're moving, but you're not progressing. You're busy, but you're not fulfilled. Because if your mind isn't aligned with your vision, your own thoughts will sabotage your progress before the world even has a chance to. Every single thing you do comes from one place, your psychology. Your mindset shapes your perception. Perception shapes your decisions, and your decisions shape your destiny. The problem is most people live their entire lives reacting to their environment instead of creating it. They wake up and check their phone, they absorb everyone else's opinions, fears, and noise, and then they wonder why they feel uncertain and stuck. You can't build a skyscraper on a shaky foundation, and the same goes for success. Your mindset is that foundation. It's the soil that either nourishes your dreams or suffocates them. When your mindset is strong, everything else becomes easier. Not easy, but easier. Because you stop seeing obstacles as dead ends and start seeing them as opportunities to grow. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? That single shift transforms frustration into fuel. I've seen people with almost no resources, no money, no connections, education, rise to incredible levels of success simply because they refuse to let their mind accept limits. And I've seen people with every advantage you can imagine crumble under pressure because their mindset was weak. So it's not what you have that makes the difference. It's how you think about what you have. If you believe you're capable, you'll find a way. If you believe you're not, you'll find an excuse. Brain is always working to prove your beliefs. Right. If you tell yourself you're not smart enough, your mind will find evidence to confirm it. But if you tell yourself you can figure it out, your brain will start searching for solutions. That's the power of mindset. It filters reality. It determines what you notice, what you ignore, and ultimately what you experience. That's why successful people think differently. They don't avoid fear or doubt. They face it. They don't let it define them. They've trained their mind to interpret fear as excitement, to see challenges as the pathway to mastery. They've conditioned themselves to focus on what they can control instead of what they can't. That's not luck. It's not magic. It's mindset conditioning, just like building a muscle in the gym. And make no mistake, your mind will test you. It will try to pull you back into old patterns because it loves familiarity. The human brain is wired to keep you safe, not to make you successful. But safe and fulfilled are not the same thing. If you want to create something extraordinary, you've got to rewire your default settings. You've got to make growth your new comfort zone. Start paying attention to your thoughts. Notice the stories you tell yourself every day, because every story becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. If your story is, I always fail, then even when success shows up, you'll find a way to sabotage it. If your story is, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm becoming unstoppable, you'll keep pushing through even when it's tough. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing empowering meanings. Two people can go through the exact same event. One comes out broken, the other comes out stronger. The difference isn't what happened, it's what they decided to believe about it. You can't control every circumstance. You can control the meaning you give it. And the meaning you give it determines the quality of your life. So right now, I want you to think about an area of your life where you feel stuck. Maybe it's your career, your health, your relationships. Ask yourself this: what belief is holding me back? Maybe it's, I don't have enough time. Maybe it's, I'm not ready. Maybe it's, I've failed too many times. Whatever it is, challenge it. Replace it with something powerful, something that drives you forward instead of dragging you down. Because the moment you shift your belief, everything around you starts to shift too. Your outer world is a reflection of your inner world. If you want to change your results, start by changing your thoughts. Feed your mind with what strengthens you. Surround yourself with people who lift you higher. Speak to yourself like someone you deeply respect, because every thought is an instruction to your brain, and your brain listens. You have the power to shape your destiny, but it begins with mastering the space between your ears. Your mindset sets the foundation for everything. Get that right, and you can build anything on top of it, because the truth is, when your mind believes, your world begins to follow. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you believe you are. That's the truth most people never stop to realize. You can talk about goals, dreams, and desires all day long. If deep down you don't believe you're the kind of person who deserves them or is capable of achieving them, you'll always find a way to come up short. Because your identity, that internal picture of who you are, always controls your behavior. Think about it. Every action you take is just an expression of who you think you are. If you see yourself as someone who's disciplined, you'll act in alignment with that. You'll do the hard things because it's simply what you do. If you see yourself as someone who always quits, even unconsciously, your brain will look for ways to prove that story true. That's not weakness. That's human psychology. We act consistently with our identity, not our intentions. You can set all the goals in the world, but if they don't match who you believe yourself to be, your mind will sabotage you. It's like trying to drive a car with one foot on the gas and the other on the brake. You might move for a bit, you'll burn out fast, because the strongest force in the human personality is the need to stay consistent with who we believe we are. That's why real transformation doesn't happen when you change your actions. It happens when you change your identity. Let me give you an example. Think about someone who says, I'm trying to quit smoking. They might mean, well, notice the language I'm trying. They still identify as a smoker who's trying to quit. As long as that identity stays, the behavior will always pull them back. But the moment they shift to, I'm not a smoker, the entire pattern begins to break. Same situation, different identity, completely different outcome. The same goes for anything you want in life. If you say, I'm trying to get in shape, you've already told your mind that you're not someone who's fit yet. When you start to see yourself as a healthy, strong, energetic person, when that identity takes root, eating clean and working out isn't a struggle anymore. It's natural. It's who you are. That's the secret behind high achievers. They don't just do more, they become more. They've built an identity that supports success instead of fighting it. Their beliefs, emotions, and habits all flow from that identity. They see themselves as leaders, as creators, as warriors. Their actions simply follow suit. Because when you change who you believe you are, you don't have to push yourself anymore. You're pulled by something greater. So ask yourself this: who have you been telling yourself you are? Labels have you accepted, maybe from your past, maybe from your environment, maybe from a moment when you failed and started to believe that failure defined you. Because the truth is, you're not your past. You're not your mistakes. You're not your circumstances. You are the meaning you choose to give them. And here's the beauty. You can choose a new meaning anytime you want. You can create a new identity starting right now. It's not about faking it. It's about remembering the part of you that's always been there, the part that's strong, capable, and resilient, the part that shows up when everything's on the line. That's the real you. Start talking to yourself differently. Don't say, want to be confident. Say, I am confident. Don't say, I hope I can be disciplined. Say, I am disciplined. Because your words are commands to your subconscious mind. When you repeat them with emotion, your brain starts to build evidence to support them. It looks for ways to make your words true. That's how identity is built, through repetition and emotion. You can't think your way into a new identity. You have to live your way into it. Every time you act like the person you want to become, even in the smallest way, you strengthen that new identity. Every time you choose courage over comfort, discipline over distraction, growth over excuses, you're rewiring who you are. You're proving to yourself, this is me now. And yes, it takes time, but think about this. You've spent years, maybe decades, conditioning the identity you have right now. It's been shaped by what people told you, by how you've interpreted failure, by what you've allowed yourself to believe. So if it took years to build, give yourself the grace to rebuild it with intention. Because once you own that new identity, your potential expands beyond what you can imagine. You see yourself as powerful, you'll act powerfully. When you believe you're resourceful, you'll find a way. When you decide you're unstoppable, nothing can truly stop you. Not because life gets easier, but because you rise higher. So stop trying to achieve success with an identity that doesn't match it. Become the person who already has it. Live, breathe, and think like that person right now before the results show up. Because once your identity shifts, your behavior will naturally rise to meet it. Everything you want is already waiting for you to become the version of yourself that's capable of receiving it. You don't need to wait for success to feel like a winner. You need to feel like a winner to attract success. Most people lose the battle long before they even begin. Not because they don't have the talent, the skills, the opportunity, but because their own mind talks them out of the fight. They wake up every day carrying doubts, fears, and old stories that whisper, you can't, and they listen. The truth is, your mind can be your greatest ally or your deadliest enemy. It can build you up or break you down. The difference lies in whether you've learned to control your thoughts or whether your thoughts control you. You can't expect to live an extraordinary life with a mind that's constantly feeding you ordinary beliefs. The problem is most people never stop to question what's running through their heads all day. They think their thoughts are facts, but they're not. They're habits, conditioned patterns, loops that play over and over again because no one ever hit pause long enough to change the track. Your thoughts shape your emotions, emotions shape your actions, and your actions shape your life. So if you want to change your life, you have to start with the first link in that chain, your thinking. You have to rewire the mental patterns that keep pulling you back to who you used to be and replace them with thoughts that move you closer to who you're meant to become. Think about it when something doesn't go your way. What's your first thought? Most people immediately jump to what's wrong. Oh, I'm not good enough. This always happens to me. I'll never figure it out. That's not reality speaking. That's conditioning. You've practiced those thoughts so many times that they become automatic, and whatever you repeat, your mind starts to believe. But here's the good news. If you can program negative thoughts through repetition, you can reprogram empowering ones the same way. You've got to train your brain like an athlete trains their body. If you don't use the right mental muscles, they get weak. You've got to start catching those limiting thoughts in the moment and replace them with something stronger. When your mind says, I can't do this, you stop it right there and say, that's not true. I've done harder things before. Capable. I've got this. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about reshaping it, because whatever meaning you attach to an event becomes the story you live by. When fear shows up, and it will, instead of letting it freeze you, use as a signal. Fear just means there's something on the other side worth growing into. Every time you push through fear, you teach your brain that it doesn't have to run from discomfort. It can use it. The moment you do that, fear loses its grip on you. It stops being an enemy and becomes a teacher. The same goes for doubt. Everyone experiences it, but high achievers handle it differently. They don't let doubt decide. They acknowledge it, then take action anyway. Because the more you act in the face of doubt, the more your mind learns that it doesn't have to believe every thought it has. You start realizing that you're not your thoughts. You're the one who decides which thoughts to feed and which to let starve. Visualization is one of the most powerful tools for rewiring your mind. You see something vividly and emotionally in your imagination, your brain begins to experience it as real. It starts creating neural pathways as if you've already lived it. That's why champions visualize before they perform, because the mind doesn't know the difference between what's vividly imagined and what's actually experienced. When you consistently visualize your goals, your brain begins to align your behavior with that picture. It starts guiding you almost subconsciously toward the actions that make it real. But visualization alone isn't enough. You've got to reinforce it with emotion. You have to feel the outcome before it happens. Feel the confidence, the gratitude, the excitement, because emotion is what locks in the programming. If you just say, I'm confident, without feeling it, your mind won't believe you. When you say it with energy, with certainty, with power, your nervous system starts to respond. You literally start changing your state in real time. Every day, you're either programming your mind intentionally or letting the world do it for you. Every conversation, every social media post, every piece of news, it's all shaping what you think and how you feel. That's why you've got to take charge of what you feed your mind. If you constantly surround yourself with negativity, be surprised when you feel hopeless. If you surround yourself with inspiration, growth, and empowering people, your thinking begins to expand. You start seeing possibilities instead of problems. Most successful people in the world aren't those who never have negative thoughts. They're the ones who refuse to let those thoughts drive their decisions. They've trained themselves to focus on what they can control. They've built mental toughness through discipline, gratitude, and awareness. When their mind says, you can't, they say, watch me. You've got to build that same resilience within yourself. Start with small wins. Every time you notice a negative thought and replace it with something empowering, that's a rep. Every time you act despite fear, that's another rep. Over time, your mental strength compounds. Suddenly, the things that once overwhelmed you don't even shake you anymore. The truth is, your life will always move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. If your mind is filled with limitation, your world will shrink. If your mind is filled with possibility, your world will expand. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about choosing which version of reality you're going to build your life around. Rewire your thoughts and you'll rewire your destiny. Because once you master your mind, you master your life. You can have the perfect plan, the right strategy, and the best opportunities in front of you, but without emotional intensity, none of it matters. Emotion is the fuel behind every great achievement. It's what turns ideas into action, dreams into reality, and potential into power. Because the truth is, you don't act on what you know, you act on how you feel. You can know exactly what you should be doing, but if your emotional state is flat, if your energy is low, you won't do it. And even if you do, you won't do it with power. Most people try to change their life by forcing action, by pushing themselves harder. But the problem isn't usually effort, it's energy. You can't create extraordinary results from a disempowered state. You can't build momentum when you feel stuck. drained or defeated. That's like trying to drive a car with no fuel in the tank. You can press the gas pedal all you want, but you're not going anywhere. To change your life, you've got to learn to change your emotional state on command. Every decision you make, every action you take is driven by emotion. Think about it. People don't buy products because they make logical sense. They buy because of how those products make them feel. You don't fall in love because it's rational. You fall in love because it's emotional. You don't chase a dream because it's safe. You chase it because it lights something up inside you. Emotion is a driving force behind everything human beings do. If you want to take consistent, powerful action, you have to condition your emotions the same way you condition your body, because emotion creates motion when you're in a high energy state, confident, passionate, grateful. Your actions are completely different than when you're stressed, tired, fearful. You move faster, you think clearer, and you do more in 1 hour of high energy than you do in 10 hours of low energy. That's not luck, that's state mastery. You've got to start paying attention to the emotional patterns that control your life. Everyone has what I call emotional state, that emotional neighborhood you visit every single day. For some people, it's frustration or anxiety. Others, it's calm or excitement. The problem is most people don't even realize they're living in a low energy state. They've gotten used to it. They've normalized it. They wake up, scroll through their phone, immediately flood their mind with stress, comparison, and negativity. And then they wonder why they have no drive. You can't wait for life to give you energy. You have to generate it. You have to make the conscious choice to lift your state through your body, your focus, and your language. Your body is the fastest tool you have for changing your emotions. If you stand tall, breathe deeply, move with power, your state changes instantly. You can't be depressed when your physiology screams confidence. Your body and your mind are connected. Change one, and the other follows. Next, there's focus. Whatever you focus on, you feel. If you focus on what's missing, you'll feel lack. If you focus on what's wrong, you'll feel overwhelmed. But if you focus on what's strong, on what you're grateful for, on what's possible, you'll feel powerful. It's not about denying problems. It's about directing your attention toward what will move you forward. Your focus is the steering wheel of your emotions. And finally, your language. The words you use every day shape your emotional experience. If you constantly say, I'm stressed, I'm exhausted, I'm trying to survive, your brain believes it and creates that reality. But if you shift your language, even slightly, you shift your state, change, I'm stressed, to I'm challenged, change, I'm exhausted, to I'm recharging, change, I have to, into I get to. Words are power. Every time you speak, you're programming your mind for how to feel. You learn to master your state, everything changes. Because when your emotional state is strong, taking action becomes effortless. You don't have to push yourself anymore. You're pulled by something deeper. That's why you see some people radiate energy wherever they go. It's not that their lives are easier. It's that they've trained themselves to live in an elevated emotional state. They've learned that passion isn't something you find, it's something you generate. You've had moments like that, haven't you? Times when you felt unstoppable, when you were so fired up, so certain that nothing could hold you back. Maybe it was when you were chasing a goal or standing up for someone you loved or proving to yourself that you could do what others said you couldn't. In those moments, you were in the right state. You were connected to your emotion. You didn't need motivation, you were motivation. That's the power of emotion. It's the ignition switch for everything great you'll ever do. So when you find yourself feeling stuck, don't ask, what should I do? Ask, do I need to feel right now to take action? Because if you can change your emotion, the right action will follow naturally. You don't need more information. You need more energy. You need to raise your vibration, shift your state, tap back into the emotion that drives you. Emotion is what turns average into excellence. It's what separates those who wish from those who win. Because in the end, it's not about what you know or what you plan. It's about what you feel and how you use that feeling to move. When you learn to master your emotions, you don't just act with power. You live with purpose. Action matters. Of course it does. You can sit around visualizing success all day, but nothing changes until you move. You can have the most powerful mindset in the world, but without action, it's like having a race car with no one in the driver's seat. Yet here's what most people don't understand. Action without the right mindset is wasted motion. It's running on a treadmill, not on a track. You're sweating, you're moving, but you're not getting anywhere. That's why so many people grind for years and still feel stuck. They're taking massive action, but it's driven by fear, doubt, or scarcity. They're trying to prove themselves instead of express themselves. They're chasing success from a place of insecurity rather than confidence. And when you do that, you burn out because no amount of action can compensate for a disempowered mind. You've probably seen this before. Someone works harder than anyone else, puts in long hours, hustles nonstop, yet still doesn't break through. Then someone else comes along, maybe with less experience or fewer resources, and suddenly they soar. The difference isn't luck or intelligence. It's alignment. Your mindset and your action are in alignment. You move faster, you see clearer, and results start showing up like they were waiting for you. But when they're out of sync, every step feels like an uphill battle. Mindset is the map. Action is the journey. Without the map, you get lost. Without the journey, the map is just paper. You need both, but in the right order. You start with the mind because your thoughts determine your direction. Your beliefs decide what's possible. Identity tells you how far you'll go before you quit. Once that's locked in, action becomes the natural next step. You don't have to force it anymore. You're pulled by clarity instead of pushed by confusion. Think about a time when you were truly inspired, when something inside you clicked and you just knew what you had to do. Did you need motivation? Did you need someone to push you? No, you acted because your mind was already there. That's what alignment feels like. You're not fighting yourself anymore. You're not battling resistance. You're in flow. You've shifted from I have to into I get to. And that's where real progress happens. Now, let's be real. Strategy and action do matter. You can have the right mindset, but if you never take the first step, nothing changes. Positive thinking doesn't pay bills. Confidence doesn't build businesses. Belief doesn't sculpt your body. You still have to execute. But here's the catch. When your mindset is strong, action becomes effective. You stop doing busy work and start doing meaningful work. You stop trying to control everything and focus on what actually moves the needle. You often ask, what's more important, mindset or action? The truth is, it's not one or the other. It's both, but in the right ratio. Mindset is 80%. Action is 20%, because mindset determines the quality of your action. Decides whether that 20% is powerful or pointless. Think about it. A rocket uses most of its fuel just to break through the atmosphere. Once it's in orbit, momentum does the rest. That's what mindset does. It's the launch fuel. Once you break through those limiting beliefs, every bit of effort you put in starts multiplying instead of draining you. But here's the mistake most people make. They try to fix their action when what really needs fixing is their thinking. They switch jobs, they change goals, they start over again and again, thinking that maybe the next thing will finally work. But the problem isn't the path, it's the person walking it. You can't escape your own mindset. Wherever you go, you bring it with you. Change your mind first, and suddenly every path opens up. When your mindset is right, you stop chasing and start attracting. You stop pushing and start pulling. You act with purpose, not panic. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need to take the next step with faith, with clarity, with the belief that what you do matters. Because once you start taking action from a place of conviction instead of confusion, life starts responding differently. You notice opportunities you used to overlook. You meet people who move you forward. You create momentum where before there was only motion. The truth is, the world doesn't reward the person who works the hardest. It rewards the person who works the smartest, and that begins with mindset. There's a difference between movement and progress, between activity and achievement, between being busy and being effective. The difference is the state of your mind when you take action. So if you feel like you've been hustling but not getting results, stop for a moment. Don't just ask, what should I do next? Ask, why am I doing this? What state of mind am I operating? Because if your action is coming from fear, you'll create more fear. If it's coming from scarcity, you'll attract scarcity. But if it's coming from confidence, passion, and belief, you'll create results that reflect that energy. It's not about doing more. It's about doing from a higher place. It's about taking action that's fueled by certainty, not desperation. Because when your mindset and your action work together, success stops being a struggle. It becomes a natural outcome. When your mind is right, every action you take carries the power to change your life. Mindset isn't something you build once and then forget about. It's not a one-time event, single breakthrough, or a moment of motivation that lasts forever. It's a daily practice, a discipline. Just like your body needs constant movement to stay strong, your mind needs constant training to stay powerful. You can't expect to feed your body junk every day and stay healthy, and you can't expect to feed your mind negativity, fear, and doubt and still live with strength and confidence. You've got to nurture it. You've got to train it. You've got to protect it. The truth is, the world around you is constantly shaping how you think. Every message you hear, every person you talk to, every piece of content you consume, it all influences your mindset. That's why you can't leave it to chance. You have to take ownership of it, because if you don't program your mind, the world will do it for you. And the world's programming is full of fear, scarcity, and distraction. It's designed to keep you small, comfortable, and reactive. If you want to rise above that, you've got to become intentional about what you feed your mind every single day. It starts the moment you wake up. Most people open their eyes and immediately dive into their phones, emails, social media, the news. They let the outside world invade their inner world before they've even had a chance to center themselves. And they wonder why they feel anxious, uncertain, and drained before the day has even started. You can't build a strong mindset in that state. You have to claim the first moments of your day for yourself. You have to fill your mind with thoughts that empower you, with gratitude, with vision, purpose. Because how you start your day is how you condition your mind to live. Create rituals that strengthen you. Read something that challenges you to grow. Listen to something that inspires you. Take a few minutes to visualize the kind of person you want to be today, not someday, not next year, but today. See yourself acting with confidence, speaking with power, moving with certainty. Feel it, embody it. Vividly you experience that vision, the faster your brain starts to accept it as your new normal. And then throughout your day, guard your mind like it's sacred, because it is. Pay attention to the thoughts that try to sneak in when you face obstacles. When something doesn't go as planned, notice how quickly your mind wants to revert to old patterns. This always happens to me. I'll never get this right. That's your old conditioning trying to pull you back. Don't fight it, just recognize it. The moment you become aware, you take your power back, you interrupt the old pattern and replace it with a new one. This is just feedback. This is helping me grow. This moment is temporary. I'm learning. Every time you do that, you strengthen the muscle of awareness. You rewire your mind one choice at a time. That's how transformation really happens. Not in one dramatic moment, but in the small, consistent shifts you make daily. Success is built in the repetition. Anyone can feel positive for a day or two. Anyone can be focused when things are going well. But true mastery is when you can keep your mind centered and strong even when everything around you feels chaotic. That's the difference between someone who hopes for success and someone who creates it. It's also about what you practice when no one's watching. The conversations you have with yourself when things are quiet. Because those internal conversations shape everything. You've got to catch yourself when you start speaking limitations into existence. Replace "I can't" with "I'm learning." Replace "I'm tired" with "I'm recharging." Replace "It's too hard" with "This is how I get stronger." Your words become your reality, and every time you choose empowering language, you build a stronger mental foundation. And don't underestimate the power of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the fastest ways to shift your mindset. You can't be angry and grateful at the same time. You can't feel fear and gratitude in the same breath. You start your day by focusing on what's good. Your entire nervous system changes. You begin to see opportunities instead of obstacles. You train your mind to focus on what's working, not what's missing. Gratitude doesn't just make you feel better. It makes you perform better because it puts your focus in the right place. Remember, this mindset isn't built through comfort. It's built through challenge. You grow stronger not when life is easy, when life tests you. Every time you face difficulty and choose not to break, your mind becomes more resilient. Every time you keep going when you don't feel like it, you prove to yourself that you're more powerful than your emotions. That's how you build unshakable confidence, through consistent, conscious repetition. And here's the key, it never ends. The moment you stop feeding your mind, it starts to weaken. The moment you stop growing, you start declining. That's why you must treat your mindset as a lifelong practice. Feed it daily with positivity, challenge it with new experiences, stretch it with learning, protect it from negativity, and align it with purpose. Because when your mind grows, your life grows. Your mind expands, your limits dissolve. This isn't about perfection, it's about progression. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Other days you'll struggle. That's normal. But as long as you keep showing up, as long as you keep practicing, keep realigning, keep feeding your mind with power, you'll keep evolving. That's how champions are made. That's how leaders are built. That's how lasting success is created, not once, but daily. Because the strongest mindset isn't built in a moment of victory. It's built every single day you choose to rise again.